Your Steve Jones Show podcast will start shortly. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Brewers Outlet, your beverage supermarket on Reagan Street in Sunbury. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Today's show brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, best selection of beers anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. And the pickle bar, led by the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket, and 6 great flavors of slushies, too. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Lincoln, Kia, Hyundai, great pre-owned inventory, great deals to be had. This is a great time to buy. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Oh, by the way, Penn State now has a basketball game. Did you know that? Yes, the ACC Challenge game at Castle Coliseum against Virginia Tech on Tuesday, December 8th. So there you go. So that's one.
Woohoo!
Getting there. Sandy Barber and I, as you heard in the first half hour of the show, talked extensively about that last night. Sounds like it's the next week or so, maybe within 10 days they'll have a schedule out. It hasn't been easy because of all the postponements, cancellations, how you want to travel, where you want to travel to, who wants to travel to your place. Time now for our play-by-play call of the day. Hayden Hurst, the former Raven, makes a play for the Falcons.
Blitz coming. Falcons pick it up. The pass. Wow, what a catch by Hurst.
Wow. That made my back hurt. Wow, this guy to be able to come, he's running up the seam. That ball might have, I'd like to see another look at that. Watch this. He's running up the seam, and to be able to turn around, the ball hits. It's just a matter of whether or not he had control of the ball.
Yep, and that's Joe Buck and Troy Aikman last night on Fox. Falcons avoid a fourth quarter swoon for one of the few times this year and won it. They're now 2-6. Very quickly, here's how the week played out in college sports. Florida returned to practice on Monday. They are now getting ready for their next game against Missouri. One player tested positive in Cal men's basketball. They paused workouts. Bethune-Cookman, no sports. Marshall, Florida International postponed. North Texas, UTEP postponed. Oregon had positive tests. 5 players. Turned out they were all false positives. No problem. Wisconsin, Graham Mertz tested positive. Now they're at a point where they have 16, 9 staff members, 7 players. They opted not to play. The rules, they opted not to play. They did not go past the numbers that would knock them out. They opted to pause all team activities. Let's see. Trevor Lawrence tested positive, but they're still playing BC. Gavitt games in basketball, as we pointed out, won't happen between Big Ten and Big East, but Big Ten ACC Challenge will happen, and Penn State plays at Virginia Tech. So that's the week in sports. All right. So let's get to it now with Brad Edwards from Game Day. Brad, welcome back. Great to have you with us.
Thank you, Steve. It's good to be back. It's a crazy week in college football. I'll tell you what, it's your game is I believe the only ranked versus ranked game.
It is.
And yet elsewhere in your conference, there's so much going on that it's an interesting week nonetheless.
We know what the Big Ten said back on July the 9th when they decided not to have non-conference games. They didn't announce the schedule then, but said back on July 9th. So what's your take on the Nebraska situation in the attempt to schedule Tennessee-Chattanooga?
Well, I can't say that I'm surprised by it after what Nebraska had done over the summer. It seems like just a desperation move, and I'm trying to put myself in their shoes and figure out what you have to gain from it. I guess for Scott Frost, it's just more reps for guys because, in theory, the game would be put together so quickly that you wouldn't have time to game plan at all. You're just going out there and playing an opponent that you don't really know a whole lot about, and you're going to go out there and assume that you'll win on talent. But it is an opportunity to work on some things. I mean, I guess that's the rationale for doing it. It's not like you're going to make money off the game, given the situation with attendance, ticket sales and all that. So I don't know. I don't know why it was such a big deal to throw it together, but obviously they've been quite frustrated for the last several months now with the limitations that the Big Ten has placed upon them as far as scheduling games.
Yeah, because, Brad, it certainly seems like, and it doesn't mean it's a reality, but it certainly seems from the outside looking in, they've been in constant conflict with the Big Ten about how to go about business.
No, my reaction, when I saw that story, and then of course it turns out to have been shot down by the Big Ten, is that if Nebraska had another viable option for a conference to join, where the money would be similar, my impression is they would do it tomorrow. They're so at odds with the Big Ten right now. But what's obvious is that there is no other conference they could join that would give them close to the same amount of money. And given how much things have changed in college football in just a few years, I'm not sure that the market for Nebraska would be what it was.
Agreed.
Like would Nebraska be incredibly attractive to another conference right now? I don't think so.
Only on the attendance side of it. The attendance side of it, yes. Market-wise, knowing you and I know that markets drive a lot in all of this. What was your reaction? The Big Ten has no room to operate here. So you've had some rescheduled games in the ACC, some rescheduled games in the SEC, but there can't be any with this schedule in the Big Ten. What was your reaction when you saw the situation at Wisconsin?
Yeah, well, it wasn't surprising. I mean, from the time that it started to leak out that Mertz had a positive test.
Yeah,
there's always a good chance that there's more than one. And then once that started to become evident that there was more than one, then you figure, okay, with the Big Ten's rules, the 5%, 7.5%, or whatever the numbers are exactly, that's not a lot of margin for error there.
No.
I mean, there have been throughout the season in the other conferences many instances, many of teams going out and playing with numbers above the Big Ten threshold, and a lot of them winning with a depleted roster. They just went out and won anyway. And the Big Ten will not allow its teams to do that. And so it was interesting that Wisconsin is the team. Well, I was going to say it was interesting. I guess it's not. I was going to say it's interesting that Wisconsin basically pulled the trigger on it without it quite getting to the level where the Big Ten would have made it automatic.
Right.
But when you consider they were down to their fourth quarterback, you're looking at a really good chance you're going to lose. So why would you voluntarily go out and play if you had the option of calling it off, without a forfeit? So I guess it does make perfect sense.
Right. I talked with Todd Blackledge yesterday. I know he's got the Alabama game this week. And I asked Todd, I said, the games you've watched so far, usually early in the season, we're obviously up to week 9 now, but early in the season, defenses can be ahead of offenses. I said, why do you think we've seen so many points so far? So I'll pose that to you. Why do you think we've seen so many points so far in this unusual season?
What's interesting about that is that, to me, it's an SEC phenomenon. Okay. I don't really see it anywhere else. I know the score of your game last weekend ended up, 36-35.
Yeah, but
what was it with 3 minutes to go?
21-20. Yeah.
Yeah, or was it? Was it that high? Yeah,
it was 21-20 because Penn State had to go in front on the touchdown pass to Dotson.
Yeah, and so obviously the whole thing with the unintentional touchdown at the end, giving Indiana another possession, and then the overtime, and it ended up it was not as high scoring of a game as it appeared on the scoreboard. Or I should say it wasn't as offensive of a game as it appeared on the scoreboard at the end. Right. And the Big 12 last Saturday, all 10 teams played. We have to remind ourselves there are 10 teams in the Big 12. All 10 teams played. Only one of them hit 35 points.
Oh, interesting.
And that was Kansas State against Kansas. I mean, against the arguably the worst Power 5 team out there.
Yeah.
So scoring is down in the Big 12. I mean, this is not what we're used to seeing out of them. And SEC is the one place it's up, and I think it's because the style of offense that had really caught on a lot of other places in the country has finally caught on in the conference that really is stacked at the receiver position. Yeah. And they got so much talent at wide out, and a lot of them have a quarterback now that can operate these offenses, and you've got coordinators who are calling the game aggressively on top of having a good scheme. LSU last year, I figured that was going to revolutionize the conference because they went from mediocre to outstanding just in the blink of an eye offensively. And part of it was, that Joe Burrow and his receivers were that good, but they were out there the year before, and you didn't see that. And I think one of the big adjustments they made was they got the fullback the heck off the field. Right. And they put an extra receiver out there, and what do you know? You're more dangerous with a wideout than you are with a fullback.
Yep.
And I think that's just where we are with football today. And if you have an elite quarterback and he has good talent to throw to, it's just so difficult for defenses. And we're seeing that over and over and over. And I really think that's why. And I don't know if and you're about to see it firsthand on Saturday night. And I'm not trying to, get your listeners depressed. And look, they have played Ohio State really well the last 4 years, and so I'm not suggesting by any stretch they have no chance here. But when I look at Ohio State and Alabama and Clemson, the level at which those schools have been recruiting for a long time, and for them to, on top of that, now have the best quarterbacks, it really is unfair. And that's why, to me, unlike any conference, unlike any season I can remember since I've been alive, it feels like those teams are untouchable, except by each other, Yeah. And so I wish you the best on Saturday night, but I think that they're going to have to play as well as they can possibly play in a lot of areas to hang in there, because when you've got that quarterback and those receivers out there, it's just really, really tough for anybody to slow down.
And I watched a lot of video, because I have to get ready for my broadcast on Saturday night. I watched a lot of video of Ohio State this week from their Nebraska game, because you want to see what they have currently. And he's throwing into wide open windows in that game, and he threw the ball beautifully. But you know what? Here's what they don't have, right? And I say this with all due respect. Mac Jones has Najee Harris. Trevor Lawrence has Travis Etienne. They don't have that in that backfield.
They don't.
They have good backs. They have good backs in Master Teague and Trey Sermon, but not great ones. That's how I looked at it, Brad.
Well, there is a noticeable drop-off from Dobbins the last few years to what I saw last Saturday.
Dobbins, big-time player.
And to be honest, the only area of their team that I was really impressed with was the quarterback and the receivers.
Yeah.
I thought Nebraska held its own on the lines of scrimmage.
I agree.
And look, if there's one thing that Penn State, having watched what they did on Saturday and watched what Ohio State did, one thing that they can feel confident in, I don't know if it's a false sense of confidence, but based on what we saw, there's no reason to think that they won't be capable of getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback.
Right.
Because Nebraska was able to do it. And that, to me, appears to be the strength of Penn State's team, is the ability to pressure the quarterback. So the problem with Justin Fields, though, as you know, you can't just put pressure on him. You've got to get him to the ground.
Yeah.
Because if you just simply put pressure on him and flush him out of the pocket, you're just going to allow them to make a big play in another way. I mean, just look at what happened with Penix with the two-point conversions.
Right.
I mean, they got pressure on him, but if you don't wrap him up and make the play, he's going to end up making something. And of course, Justin Fields is better. So that's the challenge. Is you got to get there in the backfield and you got to bring him to the ground. And if you can do that, then maybe they can limit them offensively the way they did last year. Only team that held them under 30 last year. So I like I said, I can't say that they have no shot, but man, you got to do everything right. You can't go out there and give them anything, that's for sure.
Yeah, you have to check a lot of boxes to do it. But I'll say this, though, Brad, and one last part of this. I think a lot of teams play Ohio State, and they hope they can hang with them or hope they can win. Penn State at least knows they can win against them. I mean, they have players on this team that played in those games. I mean, and so that's a big difference between hoping and knowing. And we'll see if it pays off. We'll find out Saturday night.
Yeah, and I think that's a difference between, say, pretty much any team Clemson plays in the ACC.
That's right.
Because those guys, the exception like North Carolina last year, those guys have just been blown out by this team year after year after year.
That's right.
And it's what we used to refer to as a helmet game, where they see the helmet and they automatically freeze up right. Because they know bad things are going to happen.
That's a great one. I like that one. Brad, always a pleasure. Great talking football with you anytime. You're just one of the best.
Well, thank you, Steve. I look forward to watching this game on Saturday night, and I appreciate you having me on.
Brad Edwards from ESPN Game Day. The king of the next half hour with plenty of picks. Lots of picks. Back with more in a moment, brought to you by Brewers Outlet on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Shikellamy at Midwest coming up tonight, 7 o'clock, 6:30 the airtime with Kevo and the Chief. And this should be it, right? This is the last game?
It may be, but if Mifflinburg loses to Jersey Shore tonight, which is the other District 4 4A semifinal winner would play the Selinsgrove-Shamokin winner, then Shikellamy would play Mifflinburg next week, and that would be the last game of the year as far as I'm aware. So we'll
so
see.
They do have another game. So they do
possibly,
have
as
game.
long as Mifflinburg loses.
No. So they do have another game. All right, so
yes. We'll see. Yeah, likely, but we'll see.
Oh, I can't wait. Extend the season to Easter. All right.
I'm slow today. I'm sorry.
I know you're a little thrown off here because you're going to go to Montoursville tomorrow night.
Yes.
I got that. I understand. You're a little kind of hanging in there a little bit.
I'll still be listening, worry. Though.
Oh, no, it'll double the ratings. Maybe you get the big guy to listen.
I'll try. I'll be far back, but I'll try.
I've met him.
Yes, that's right.
So. All right. Tomorrow night, Penn State, Ohio State. And again, that's my point. My point is, when Ohio State plays, for example, a Clemson or an Alabama or, whomever, LSU, look, those teams don't go in hoping they can beat Ohio State. They know they can. And it's just a question whether they can execute it. Everybody in the Big Ten, even Wisconsin, yes, even Michigan, all hope they can beat Ohio State. They go into the game, hey, if we do this, you know what? I think we can do it. Penn State goes in knowing talent-wise, they go toe-to-toe. They know they can beat them. It's a question whether they can execute it properly to beat them. So that's a big difference. Believe me, that's a big difference. Hope always relies on them having to, if we do this right, and they make a couple mistakes. Instead, the team that knows they can win tries to seize it because they're confident enough to do it. That's a big difference. That's why I tried to point that out to Brad. And he understood where I was coming from. I mean, you can't play as tight as these games have been the last 4 years. You obviously know you can go toe-to-toe in the center of the ring with them. No Jesse Lucchetta in the first half. As James Franklin said last night, Lance Dixon will get the call and be the starter in the first half of tomorrow night's game. At linebacker, it'll be his first career start. Today's show brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drink, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. And the pickle bar, led by the barrels and the dills, indeed second to none. And 6 great flavors of slushies at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now, from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
All right, how can you possibly make the Ben DiNucci start for Dallas, the first of his career, more palatable to watch? Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drink, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. And the pickle bar, led by the barrels and the dills, indeed second to none. And 6 great flavors of slushies, all at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. And we're in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the King.
Hey, what up? I got good news and bad news.
Okay, Matt, what do you want to hear first?
Let's go with the bad news first.
Okay, I got 3 wrong in our poll last week.
Okay.
That is correct.
I was 5-3.
Yes, you and I went 5-3.
The good news is in the big money pool, I only got 3 wrong. Won $145 last week.
Boom.
Won the big pool. No?
There you go.
That's good work.
It.
Good work on your part.
That's awesome.
It's tough. It's called a confidence points, where you pick the games, but you got to write down that, like, if there's 14 games. So if I pick Kansas City to beat the Jets, I am totally confident they're going to beat the Jets. I put 14 points on that game.
In fact, several of the Jets agreed with you.
If you're not sure about a game, you give it 1 point. So it's like it's not necessarily how many you get right. It's the ones you get wrong, how many points you put on it, and then that's how you win. I won this thing 3 years ago. I won the whole thing.
Yeah. Several of the Jets, by the way, agree with you, so that's...
Hey, Helmer, have you ever met Helmer?
A long time ago.
Yeah, he owns the mill in the... Yeah, it was at Mom and Dad. Both of them. He owns he owns like 8 restaurants here.
I see.
He's one of my best friends. He's just wonderful to me. We were installing guard shields on the boots in one of his restaurants today, and he came in about an hour ago. He said somebody at the restaurant tested positive for corona. So he's just like contact tracing. He said, you guys were there. He's got to close the restaurant down. So,
yeah, boy.
Yeah, and you guys can't come to Connecticut. You're on our list. Our governor's so weird. You're on a list that if you come here, if you want to come home, Steve, you got to quarantine for 2 weeks before you can come in. So change your plans.
Yeah, okay. That's fine.
The guy's so weird. So Connecticut's up to 6.1%. Oh,
yeah.
That's where we're at. Tough game last week, huh?
Yeah, very tough. So, you can't win a game when you commit 10 penalties, turn the ball over 3 times, and miss 2 field goals.
Absolutely.
That just opens the door to it. And for James Franklin.
And then you read these stupid reporters blaming, saying, that, okay, the kid should have taken a knee. All right, but you still had an 8-point lead, and you tell your defense, look, you can't let them score 2 touchdowns in the next minute 30. And if you can't stop them, then that's not the coach's fault. I don't know. I was mad. I was just... But hopefully they turn it around. They can beat Ohio State.
Well, they match up with them. They start with that. They do match up with them, and that's a big part of it. So I mean, look, I always go into games, and that's I think about these things. That how they match up with a team, and I think that's really important. Something nobody ever talks about. The
people who know anything about it do. So.
Yeah. Right. Well,
there's certain teams like the Patriots never matched up well with the Miami Dolphins for whatever reason. It was always one of their toughest games of the year. Oh.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And it's amazing how Team A can beat Team B. Team B beats Team C, but C beats A. You're like, well, how can that be? Because of the matchup.
Absolutely. There's wars out on that line when there's some guys can't cover guys, no matter who. I forgot. You'll hear pitchers say, who's the toughest guy you ever had to face, and it's some obscure guy that you just never heard of. He says, I could never get that guy out. He always hit me,
Right.
So.
Who's the third baseman for the Yankees? Really obscure.
Scott Brocious?
No, not Brocious.
Neville?
But he could face Pedro Martinez, and no matter what, he couldn't hit against anybody else, but he could hit Pedro Martinez. It's amazing.
Was Brocious, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't Brocious. It was a player. I want to say Perez, Diaz, something. I'm not
sure.
But this player was one of those guys that, he's on the roster.
Yeah.
But boy, he go against Pedro Martinez, and you'd be like, okay, I don't get this. Why can't he get this guy out? And he can't.
Yeah.
Some guy, it's just the matchup. Whatever reason, he sees the ball well off of him. Who knows?
Or vice versa, a pitcher who can constantly get a good hitter out.
Yeah. Amazing.
And there's something about his movement, something that just doesn't fit right with the guy. But hey, what do you guys think about Brady and Belichick? It's getting to be quite the talk in Boston. That how really good was Belichick? Was it Brady the whole time? And if you look at the big picture, all the coaches who coached under Belichick who moved on, none of them succeeded. And you wonder how much Brady made them who they are as coaches. And then when they actually remember Charlie Weiss and
Oh, boy. Joe did not like Charlie Weiss.
No.
No.
No, but I'm just saying, you could.
No uncertain terms.
Cornell, what's his name?
Romeo Cornell, yep.
Romano, he had no success. The guy with Detroit, he's just waiting to fire him.
Matt Patricia.
Your buddy at Houston, he did pretty well, but
yep.
He did wonderful at Penn State.
Yeah.
He actually did the best, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know how long Grable coached under the Patriots. I think he moved on pretty quick.
Well, he actually did most of his work with Bill down in Houston.
Okay.
And in fact, they almost brought him in here when Bill took. If Bill had stayed, I think he was hiring Vrabel to be here.
Every time the current offensive coordinators left the Patriots, like he went to Denver, he failed. He failed, but he comes back to Brady, and he's a mastermind. You start to wonder if is Brady that good? because he's having an MVP season, and the Patriots let him go. They said it was finished. Well, you didn't give him any players to play with.
While it is a fun debate, all right, and it's an interesting talk show debate, to be honest with you, they both worked really well to it. Belichick's strengths made the Patriots better, and Brady's strengths made the Patriots better. So each one brought strengths to the table.
We won 2 Super Bowls against the Patriots. Both those games with 2 minutes left, Brady brought them down and took the lead. Belichick's defense couldn't keep the Giants out of the end zone, or Brady would have 8 Super Bowls. And that's a fact. And it wasn't Brady's fault they didn't win. But I've never been sold on Belichick, and I always felt that without Brady, would he win?
Well, he won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants as the defensive coordinator. So he's had a hand in other Super Bowls.
But that was Parcells.
Yeah, but he also ran the defense.
Coordinator, but he wasn't the head coach. He did nothing in Cleveland, and he did nothing with the Patriots before Brady got there. And now he doesn't have he's the general manager of the team. He picks the players. They don't have any players. They're blaming Cam Newton. He's got nobody to throw it to.
Well, now
you let a quarterback go who is arguably, he was the offensive player of the month. You let him go. Why would you let it? He wasn't done. You just didn't give him anybody to play with.
Well, I want to point out, though, that the Cowboys have Ben DiNucci. We'll talk about that in a moment. Here, as the only person here who actually broadcast a Ben DiNucci game here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
All right, here we go. Pick time. Great way to finish the week.
Always. All right, so let's start with New Orleans at Chicago at 4:25 on Sunday. King, who do you got?
I got New Orleans.
Steve?
I stand by what I said about the Bears the other day. I said the first team to 13 would win, and I knew it wouldn't be the Bears. New Orleans.
I'm going with New Orleans, too. Still no Michael Thomas, but the defense can make some plays and still slow down the Bears. They looked dismal last week. So, yeah, I got New Orleans, too. Next game, also a 4 o'clock game. NFC West battle. San Francisco at Seattle, coming up the loss to Arizona, which King got last week. Steve, who do you have?
That's right, the King did pick that last week. I am still going to take Seattle.
Me too. I think the Seahawks bounce back. King.
Yeah, I think they bounce back. The Seattle, San Francisco, I mean, they played the Patriots, who stink. And Arizona, I love them to death because they won me $145.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
how I won the other fool. I'm the only one who took them. So.
All right. Sunday night football. Dallas Cowboys with Ben DiNucci facing Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles at the Link. King.
Yeah, Philadelphia's going to beat them to death.
Steve.
Craig Morton wasn't available.
He was. He got caught. He didn't make the
Eagles. Eagles.
I think the Eagles win. I don't know if they crush them. I'm not ready to say that yet.
They will destroy this team.
I think they win by 2 scores. I say that. Like I said yesterday, 27-16, Birds.
They will destroy. You're just so cautious. It's your team. You're in the fetal position. I got it.
That's true. I can't. They haven't done enough for me to say that they're going to beat the crap out of some team. I don't care how bad they are. But anyway, I got the Eagles by 2 scores. Then, one of the premier games of the week. Battle for first place in the AFC North yet again for the Pittsburgh Steelers at Baltimore. King.
I saw Baltimore play Kansas City and was not impressed. Pittsburgh, I've seen them a couple times. Man, they're good. That defensive line is brutal. I got Pittsburgh.
I got the Steelers as well to go to 7-0. Steve.
The two teams have combined to win 11 games this year. When the season is over, the teams in the NFC East won't combine for 11 wins. I'm going with Pittsburgh.
All right,
the Cowboys and Eagles are fighting for first place.
That's right.
Unbelievable. And Ben DiNucci is the key.
2020, let me tell you. All right,
you got Pittsburgh, Steve?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, all of our picks so far through the NFL are clean sweeps for all of us. So.
Well, I'm never going to catch up if I do that. So.
There we go.
Yeah.
College now. Texas, fresh off the win at Baylor. At number 6, Oklahoma State with the win over Iowa State last week that King and I got. Steve, what do you think here?
Texas.
Ooh. I got Oklahoma State. King.
I got Oak State also.
All right.
Boy, that's pretty blanky.
Let's have fun.
There you go. All right, next one. Navy and number 22 SMU. King.
I got Navy.
Really?
Yeah, I like Navy.
I think Navy
I'm
stinks.
feeling like because of the election and everything going on, I'm feeling patriotic.
And then
Navy.
To me, Navy needs way more than that. I think they stink out loud. SMU big. Steve.
I'm going with SMU.
SMU. All right. Another military academy in action this weekend. Air Force hosting number 25 Boise State. Big Mountain West showdown. King.
Boise State. I lost my patriotism.
Steve?
I'm up. What, Coast Guard's not playing? All right. So
They got the virus. They closed their football program.
One of the greatest players ever, Otto Graham, was actually the head coach at Coast Guard at one point when we were kids. Yep. Boise.
I got Boise too big in this one. And finally, number 23, Iowa State at Kansas. Steve.
Kansas can't even beat Shikellamy. What the heck? Jack and I are watching that game last week, the Kansas State-Kansas game. I got to give Kansas credit. They're awful.
Wow.
All right, well, I know what you're picking then.
Who are they playing?
Iowa State.
Iowa State will rout this is going to be a 5-touchdown game. In fact, we should make it intriguing. Who's the closest on the margin?
I think all these games are going to be blowouts, to be honest with you. I got ISU big, too.
Oh, now the Eagles are blowing teams out. Oh,
I'm talking
wait.
college.
Before, you're all there walking the balance beam.
All these college games that we've got here.
I got my hand up. Ooh. Can I change my San Francisco-Seattle pick? Is it too late?
I'll be nice.
The show's not over. Not over.
You want San Fran
we
now?
all got the same game, so I'm gonna go on a limb here, and I'm gonna take San Francisco.
Okay.
And I'm petrified that I didn't know that the Navy sucked. Well.
Watch they win now. We're gonna hear it next week.
I'm sticking with my midshipmen. They're gonna take it to SMU.
Now, as for this game, King, Iowa State, Kansas, what do you got?
On what?
Iowa State, Kansas.
Oh, Iowa State.
I mean,
this was
not
a
even
tough
less
week. There's no real competitive games. Nobody in the top 25 is playing each other except Penn State and Ohio State. And I don't think you guys want me to put that on there, so that's that.
Well, I mean, not even Les Miles picked Kansas, I don't think, did he?
Oh, jeez.
I'm just asking. I mean, to me, the biggest upset of the week to me is that the fact that Chiefs are only 19.5-point favorites over the Jets. I'd have made them 40.
Oh, my God. And the poll that I play in, they have, the percentage of picks and everything. Like 95% picked, San Francisco over Seattle. 5% took Seattle, something like that. The Jets in Kansas City is 100%.
Another one is the Bucks
100%.
and Giants on Monday night, too. That's going to be a
It's 1%. The Giants are 1%.
Yeah.
New York's doing well,
I mean, you look at that, the Chiefs and the Jets. For goodness sakes, I mean, you know what, Patrick Mahomes? They put a play in for him this week. The only play they ran in practice was the kneel down. I mean, seriously.
Oh, this is so sad. I'm reading about Lori Loughlin here.
Oh, she's going to prison.
We're safer now. Lori Loughlin's locked up. So.
Yeah, that was the big.
No, I was telling Matt before we came on. I said, you know what? They should have made her get some deserving kid a scholarship every year for 10 years.
Sure,
get something.
Yeah.
Putting her in prison is stupid.
I
go to prison
that.
to keep society safe. And make her do something worthwhile. But
yeah. I mean, if that were the case, if the standard were keeping society safe, imagine what would have happened to the suit. All right, so
you got a game, Matt, tonight?
I'll be having my game center from afar.
when it comes to car buying, there's the other guy's way, and then there's the SMC way. The other guys force you into a vehicle you really don't want. The Sunbury Motors way lets you take the time you need to browse, ask questions, and take the test drive and think on it. For over 100 years, the Mertz family and all their employees have made your experience the most pleasant one you'll ever have. The other guys won't offer you the best price for your trade, no matter how much they say they will. The SMC way is their promise to provide you with the most money the market shows your vehicle is worth. The SMC way is to offer you all applicable factory rebates on new vehicles and generous discounts. Looking for a pre-owned vehicle? The SMC way checks each vehicle in a 200-mile radius to determine the lowest price, then beat it. It's the lowest price promise, just part of the SMC way. The choice is up to you. The other guy's way or the SMC way. The SMC way wins every time. Sunbury Motors Company in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and at sunburymotors.com. Selling more cars and satisfying more customers for over 100 years.